You stroll into Aldi with $20 and leave with a week's worth of food, a weird garden hose, and a bottle of award-winning wine. It's almost amazing, like overcoming the system. And for millions of people throughout the world, Aldi represents a lifeline: cheap, fast, and no frills. In an era when supermarket costs feel like a horror show, Aldi offers relief in the shape of frozen pizzas and discounted hummus. But behind the weird middle aisles and rock-bottom pricing is a machine, a worldwide retail corporation built on relentless efficiency, well-guarded secrets, and a few controversies that never make it past the checkout queue. Aldi's past is anything from mundane, with labor probes, food safety worries, greenwashing, and cartel-level supply chain turmoil. And here's the kicker: most customers are unaware. They just notice the price tag and not the narrative behind it. So before you buy that strangely cheap pack of chicken thighs, or marvel at the fact that you can be in and out in 10 minutes, consider what makes such efficiency possible. Today, we reveal what Aldi doesn't want you to know, and why it matters every time you load up its trademark blue cart. To comprehend Aldi, you must return to post World War II Germany. In 1946, two brothers, Karl and Theo Albrecht, took over their mother's tiny grocery business in Essen. Their concept was simple, but revolutionary. Reduce food shopping to the essentials. There's no marketing, no frills, only the necessities at the lowest feasible price. That unwavering commitment to efficiency propelled one of the world's most successful retail businesses. But success came at a price, literally. By 1960, the brothers had a major disagreement over a seemingly minor issue: whether or not to sell cigarettes. The quarrel divided their empire into two firms. Theo controls Aldi Nord, whereas Karl controls Aldi Sud. Both retained the Aldi name and expanded quickly, but never together. It is one empire divided. Today, most Aldi shops in the United States are owned by Aldi Sud. But there's a twist. Aldi Nord owns Trader Joe's, the American retailer famous for Hawaiian shirts, wacky branding, and cult-favorite delicacies. Two businesses, two completely different moods. One person shared DNA. This divided business strategy has allowed the Albrecht legacy to enter the global supermarket game in more ways than one, all while remaining under the radar. Quiet, chilly, and calculating, Aldi's beginnings are based not only on savings, but also on concealment. Aldi's secret sauce isn't actually a secret. It's merciless efficiency, which is baked into every aisle and policy. Walk inside an Aldi and browse around. You will see fewer personnel, reduced shop footprints, and shelves that resemble a warehouse on exhibit. That is by design. Aldi's whole operation is designed to save time and money. What about their notorious quarter cart system? To use a shopping cart, you must input a coin, which you will receive back when you return it. That minor change saves the corporation millions by reducing the requirement for cart attendants. Their product variety is limited when compared to a standard grocery store, typically approximately 1,600 products against 30,000 elsewhere. However, more than 90% of those items are private label, which means that Aldi has complete control over branding, manufacture, and price. It's not just about avoiding name brands. It's about controlling the supply chain. Even the packaging conveys a tale. Boxes are intended to fit directly into shelves, so personnel don't waste time stocking single goods. Forget baggers. Aldi shoppers do it themselves, off to the side, after paying. Many consumers find it swift, efficient, and oddly refreshing. But underlying the simplicity is a well-calibrated business engine that squeezes every cent out of every procedure. And when the system is so tight, any fault is difficult to disguise. Aldi's cheap pricing is legendary, but the cost of those savings isn't always shown on the ticket. Behind the neatly packed shelves and smiling cashiers is a harsher reality about what it takes to keep expenses down. Aldi has received recurrent criticism for its labor conditions throughout Europe. Former employees in Germany have complained of crushing workloads, strict monitoring, and managerial methods that would make your HR department go crazy. Some described the pace as inhuman, with employees pressured to move merchandise at breakneck speed to fulfill strict goals. The UK has not fared much better. Channel 4's 2013 undercover investigation uncovered sites more appropriate for a manufacturing floor than a grocery shop. Employees reported being continually monitored, discouraged from taking breaks, and forced to work long hours with no help. In the United States, the situation is marginally better. Aldi pays more than many competitors. However, bigger wages sometimes come with larger expectations. With skeletal personnel running whole stores, even managers wind up scrubbing floors, stocking shelves, and running registers at the same time. One blunder, and the entire system wobbles. Aldi's business model is based on little manpower and high production. Customers benefit from shorter wait times and lower pricing. Many of the individuals who make those savings, however, face stress, exhaustion, and a workplace that resembles a stopwatch rather than a store. When you sell tens of thousands of goods every day, mistakes are unavoidable, but Aldi's food safety record has featured more than a few eye-opening instances. Let's start with bananas. In 2014, German authorities made a surprising discovery: 140 kilograms of cocaine disguised in banana crates supplied to Aldi shops. The next year, another cargo was confiscated, this time containing almost 380 kilograms of cocaine, worth around $16 million. But the record-breaking seizure occurred in 2019, when nearly half a ton of cocaine was discovered packaged within banana cartons sent to 6 Aldi stores in Rostock. That is not a freak accident. This is a severe supply chain vulnerability. However, narcotics traffickers are not the only ones taking use of Aldi's logistics. In 2015, specific batches of Aldi's frozen berries were connected to a hepatitis A epidemic in Australia, prompting public health warnings and a complete recall. In 2021, Aldi was forced to remove Simply Nature organic baby food pouches from shelves when increased amounts of heavy metals were discovered. Just one aspect of a larger dispute involving many infant food products. In 2022, seafood items were recalled due to undisclosed allergens, creating significant dangers to persons with food sensitivities. While Aldi is usually quick to respond, opponents claim that its ultra-lean operations may have less safeguards in place to spot issues before they reach your kitchen. When speed and cost-cutting are the primary priorities, monitoring can fall to the wayside, a risky proposition for a grocery chain. In 2013, Aldi was at the center of one of Europe's most notorious food scandals, the Horsemeat Scandal. It began with regular testing in Ireland and the United Kingdom. Horse DNA has been detected in supermarket meat products. However, when inspectors conducted more tests, they discovered that some goods, such as beef lasagna and frozen burgers, contained up to 100% horse meat. Who among the retailers has been implicated? Aldi. The problem was caused by a supplier named Comagel, who was putting horse flesh into beef-labeled items. Whether via ignorance or fraud, it slipped through the supply chain and ended up in freezers across Europe. Consumers were outraged, not just because they had unintentionally consumed horses, but also because it had damaged their faith in what was on their plates. To Aldi's credit, they moved promptly. They removed the impacted items from the stores and cut connections with Comagel. But the harm had already been done. The affair sparked awkward concerns about how well grocers knew their suppliers. How strict is supply chain control when profits are king? The episode served as a wake-up call for Aldi, but it raised warning flags for many customers. If a firm so focused on control and efficiency can allow such a scandal to occur, what else may be slipping through the cracks? Aldi has made huge claims about animal welfare and sustainability. However, opponents argue that the store's green image may be more about packaging than philosophy. In 2020, animal rights advocates chastised Aldi for continuing to sell caged hen eggs in specific areas, despite rivals' efforts to phase them out. Despite customer demand for cage-free options, Aldi was sluggish to make the move, particularly in places where regulations were more flexible. That is simply the tip of the iceberg. Investigations into meat suppliers across Europe turned up horrific images showing overcrowded barns, damaged animals, and abusive handling procedures. Aldi, like many big shops, responded by promising to improve welfare standards. However, these vows are frequently made after public outcry, rather than before. Then there's the plastic issue. Aldi has made headlines for cutting plastic bag consumption and offering reusable alternatives, but a closer look reveals a different reality. Independent audits revealed that Aldi continues to rely extensively on single-use plastics for packaging, particularly in the vegetable and meat categories. Despite adopting global sustainability agreements, development has been characterized as sluggish and superficial. Environmentalists have even accused Aldi of greenwashing, which involves using phrases like eco-friendly and responsibly sourced, without providing clear, transparent substantiation. When a brand's loyalty is based on trust and affordability, hollow statements may be particularly detrimental. So while Aldi promotes a greener future, the path there is murkier than it appears. Aldi's immaculate shops and tight-lipped public image conceal a family dynasty founded on silence and cloaked in secret. Theo and Karl Albrecht, the reclusive brothers who founded the Aldi empire, were noted not only for their economic acumen, but also for their fixation with solitude. They seldom gave interviews, shunned the spotlight, and kept a low profile despite being one of Europe's wealthiest families. That passion grew stronger after 1971, when Theo Albrecht was abducted at gunpoint and held for ransom in Germany. He was released after paying around $3 million in cash, but the experience had a lasting impact. From that day on, the Albrechts retreated even more from public view, strengthening Aldi's now famous no faces, no press policy. Even after Theo's death in 2010, family tensions simmered behind the scenes. Legal fights over succession and control occasionally made their way into the public, exposing internal struggles over billions of dollars in assets. However, the corporation has remained tight-lipped, disclosing little facts. The family's absolute secrecy extends to Aldi's activities. Unlike many firms, there are no spectacular news conferences, no famous CEOs, and no genuine openness regarding board decisions or long-term strategy. It's a fortress, purposefully so. For a company that depends on consumer trust, the Albrechts' deliberate silence poses an intriguing question. What else may be concealed beyond the curtain? Most Aldi customers do not consider where their items originate from. However, behind practically every private label item is a supplier on a tightrope, one that Aldi controls. Aldi's supply chain is based on dominance. Because more than 90% of the merchandise in their stores are private label, the firm works directly with manufacturers, eliminating intermediaries. This enables them to bargain costs down to the penny, but the burden frequently falls firmly on the shoulders of small and medium-sized businesses. This is how it works. Aldi provides tremendous volume to suppliers in return for razor-thin margins and rigorous delivery dates. With only a few SKUs per category, getting inside Aldi's system is a victory. Staying in, however, requires accepting harsh terms. Suppliers have reported being pressured to reduce pricing, endure unanticipated cost hikes, or risk losing the entire contract. In Europe, watchdog organizations and unions have expressed concerns about Aldi's negotiation practices. Some suppliers characterize it as take it or leave it, negotiating, with Aldi's scale leaving them with little options. Even worse, because Aldi carefully controls branding and packaging, many suppliers operate anonymously. If something goes wrong, such as a product recall or contamination, the supplier bears the brunt of the blame, while Aldi is unaffected. It's a model that encourages control while punishing weakness. And for the corporations behind the labels, the cost of doing business with Aldi may be more than customers think.